Welcome to Manifested e-learning platform. Today we continue the series Trade Association, Amateur Sporting Association and the Club. And we start with taxation of the trade association. So number one, you need to understand that trade association are basically engaged in activities of protecting and fighting for the rights of its members. Essentially, when you talk about trade association, that basically the income generated is not basically meant for, it's not known to raise revenue. It's raise revenue for, for trade. So basically it's being exempted from tax. So we say that this is an association, this is an association, this is an association, this is an association of members, association of members, we say association of members, or persons, engaged, we say engaged, association of members or person engaged. In activities, we say in activities of what you call protecting. In activities of protecting, we say protecting, promoting, protecting, promoting, and fighting, and what you call fighting for the interest, and fighting for the interest of its members. So this is basically what the trade association are geared to do, promoting, protecting, and fighting for the interest of its members. So trading association, trade association are essentially not taken, not to carry out, not to be carrying out, essentially they're taken to be not to be carrying out, income generating activities. They're taken not to be carrying out income generating activity, and therefore they are exempted. We say exempted from tax, and therefore they are exempted from tax because they're known not to carry out activities that generate income. So examples of trade association, you can say examples include. The examples of a trade association are Kenya Association of Manufacturers, include Kenya Association of what you call manufacturers. Association of Manufacturers, then we also have the COTU. So these are examples of what you call a trade association. Those are examples. However, if this trade association are precisely maybe engaged in activities that generate income, they should report that to the Commissioner of Domestic Tax. And that should be taxed at a corporate rate of 30%. We have said that trade associations are known not to engage in trading activity. But I'm saying, however, if they engage in income generating activity, then that needs to be reported to the commissioner, and that will essentially be taxed at 30%. So we say they are required to notify. Lastly, they are required, we say required to notify. They're required to notify to the commissioner, they're required to notify to the commissioner. we say they are required to notify to the commissioner. They are required to notify to the commissioner of domestic tax, of domestic tax, of the domestic taxes. They are required to notify to the Commission of Domestic Taxes, in which they are required to notify to the Commission of Domestic Tax if they are engaged, in income generating activities. However, they are required to notify to the Commission of Domestic Tax if they're basically engaged in income generating activities, in which case we say in which case it should be taxed. It should be taxed at a corporate, what you call corporate rate of 30%. In which case, if they're basically engaged, they need to report to the commissioner at corporate rate of 30% on their taxable income, 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 on their taxable income. They're known not to engage in income generating activity, and so therefore we know they're exempted from tax. However, if they engage in income generating activity, that needs to be reported to the commissioner, and that should be taxed at 30%. That is essentially on taxation of trade association. So that was basically on taxation of trade association. We proceed to what we call taxation of what we call amateur. Taxation of amateur, what we call amateur sporting association. Taxation of amateur sporting association. Taxation of amateur sporting association. So these are association. These, we need to understand, these are association. What do you call association? These are basically association formed in order to promote what you call outdoor, what you call the outdoor activities. However, to promote outdoor activity. These are associations formed in order to promote outdoor activities. E.g., athletics in Kenya. So that is what you call amateur. So we need to understand that amateur, non-investment income, we say the non-investment income, we basically say non-investment income. For the non-investment income, incomes for the non-investment income is usually, exempted. The non-investment income is usually basically exempted from tax. So the non-investment income is usually exempted from tax, if it meets the following conditions. If it meets the following, we say the following conditions. It's usually exempted from tax if it meets the following condition. The non-investment income is usually basically exempted from tax if it meets the following condition. We say number one is association. Association, we say formed to promote outdoor activities. if association formed to promote what we call outdoor activity. Association formed to promote outdoor activity. If it is by state law, if it is by state law, we're saying that if it is by state law, if it is by law, if it is stated by law, if it is stated, we say by law. What is it stated by law? That members cease to be members, that members cease to be members. Members cease to be members. If essentially it is stated by law that members cease to be members on becoming professional. On becoming professional. The members who form this association ceases to be members on becoming a professional. In that case, that is non-investment income is not going to be taxed. And we say that members consist basically to nurture talent. Those are basically there to nurture talent. So then we need to note, lastly, very important, now on the investment income. If you have investment income, we need to taxable investment income. For the taxable, we need to understand that taxable investment income is subjected, we say is subjected to tax at a corporate, we say at a corporate rate of 30%. So for the investment income, taxable investment income, we know that is subjected to tax at a corporate rate of 30%. So that is how we essentially tax what we call amateur sporting association. So that was on taxation of amateur sporting association. We move to taxation of members club. Taxation of what we call members clubs. Taxation of what we call members club. Taxation of what we call members club. So this is institution. This is, we need to understand, this is institution. Institution formed, basically formed to hold asset in trust of members. Institution formed to hold what we call asset in trust, to hold basically asset in trust for its members. For its members. To hold asset in trust for its members. The basically institutions formed to hold asset in trust for its members. We need to understand that it is usually taxed. It is usually, we say usually taxed at a corporate, we say at a corporate rate of 30%. It is usually taxed at a corporate rate of 30% on taxable income, on what we call on taxable income. So we need to understand that what does this taxable income constitute? One of the first things that you need to understand, we need to understand what is the composition of this taxable income. We have members' contribution, but that members' contribution, we need to understand that it's only taxable, subjected to tax, if the proportion members' contribution is only taxed if it does not exceed. But if it exceeds 75%, it's not taxed. But we also have other investments. So we have, number one, that members' contribution, we get the net, lessing expenses. Net members' contribution consists taxable income. Taxable, we know that taxable income we say consist of. One, we have what we call net members contribution. What is net members contribution? So that is basically members contribution minus allowable expenses. That is i.e. members contribution less what you call allowable expenses. Members contribution with less allowable expenses, And we say that on that members contribution, it is very important that that members contribution should not exceed 75% of the total contribution. Then you have taxable investment income. Taxable, number 2, is what you call taxable investment income. The next is what you call taxable investment income. That is, we need to understand considered. This is considered as limited company. We know that for limited company, what we do after getting the taxable operating income, we had the taxable investment income. For example, the rental, the farming, the non-qualifying interest, and non-qualifying dividends. However, members' contribution, and be very important, because this is the first starting point. When I say that those members' contribution should not exceed 75%. Otherwise, if it exceeds 75%, then they should not be subjected to tax. And B, however, we say members contribution. We say that the members contribution, however, the members contribution would be exempted from tax. The members contribution would be exempted from tax if it exceeds 75% of what we call 75% of the total taxable income. If those members' contribution exceeds 75% of total taxable income, it should be exempted from tax. Those members' contribution should be exempted from tax. Then again, we say, if that happen, the investment income, and you have the investment income, that investment income would still taxable investment. If this happens and you remain with taxable investment income, remember those taxable investment income should still just be subjected to tax at corporate rate of 30%. So we say that taxable investment income would still be subjected to tax at, we say, a corporate rate of 30%. Would still be subjected to tax at corporate rate of 30%. Would still be subjected to tax at a corporate rate of 30%. So we say that percentage of members' contribution, percentage of members' contribution is, we say, basically determined as follows. So we said at the top here that if members' contribution exceeds 75% of the total income, then those members' contribution would not be subjected to tax. However, For the taxable investment income, we said it would still be subjected to tax at a corporate rate of 30%. How do we determine a percentage of members' contribution? How do we essentially determine percentage of members' contribution? So we have gross members' contribution. We say gross, what we call gross members contribution. We have what we call the gross members contribution over the gross members contribution over total taxable income, total taxable. We have the total taxable income, total taxable income, total taxable income. That is should be gross members contribution, contribution plus what? What you have taxable investment income. We say that gross members contribution plus what you call taxable investment. We say taxable investment income. So that is taxable investment income, So gross members contribution plus taxable, what you call taxable investment income. Then that percentage, we multiply by 100%. So we get that contribution. And so if we look at those gross members contribution, if it exceeds 75%, we don't tax members contribution. However, for the investment income, we will proceed ahead and tax it at corporate rate of 30%. That is how we essentially tax members club.